Okay, so this video is all about remembering the importance of your physical state when you want to feel happier. Okay, so I think understandably when we're thinking about being happier, when we're deciding we would like to feel happier, more of the time we focus on our minds, and that makes a huge amount of sense. However, our bodies are part of us. Many people, as I'm sure you know, believe now that our mind and body aren't separate, that we've often thought they were, but in fact intelligence is present in our bodies as well. So what I'm going to be talking about today is really getting back in touch with the importance of our bodies when it comes to our mental health as well as our physical health. Okay, so there are three things I want to talk about. The first is that we often, I think, have moved away from recognising what our bodies are trying to tell us. Okay, so I guess what I mean by that is we know our bodies send messages to us. So for example, physical pain, you know, we have pain, we know we're damaging ourselves, we stop doing what it is we're doing, and it's there to protect us. However, there are more subtle messages all the time from our bodies. And the reason I bring this up isn't because I don't think you know that, I do think you know that, but I think a lot of us move away from it, and a lot of us get so busy and preoccupied that we stop noticing what our bodies are telling us. So, for example, when you speak to people about how they're feeling emotionally, people will often move their hands to their stomach or their heart or their chest, and it's quite telling that I think we feel those emotions in our physical bodies as well. So quite often when people, you know, those expressions like, oh, I had a real sinking feeling, or I just like felt like something really heavy in my stomach, or you know, when we talk about people we really love or stuff we're excited by, quite often our hands go up to our chests. And we're all different, you know, I'm not saying we all feel these things in these places, but it's just really a reminder that when we have thoughts and when we experience emotion, our bodies are doing it as well. The second thing I wanted to talk about is what I'd call the real basics when it comes to feeling happier, and our connection to our physical state and happiness. So if you think about children and when we're helping them grow up and learn how to be healthy, the three things that probably spring to mind, certainly for me, are we help them to learn how to sleep well, we help them to learn what food they might need to eat, and we help them to learn how to move their bodies, how to exercise so that they're physically fit and well. And maybe we weren't taught those things brilliantly as children, and I would suggest now's the time to let go of anything to do with that. But as adults, we can also just sometimes find ourselves drifting from what we know is good for us and healthy. So I'm not an expert in these physical matters, okay? I'm not going to pretend to be. So all I'm talking about is a very basic level. You probably know how much sleep you need, and you know whether you're getting that amount of sleep at the moment or not. You probably know the sort of foods that suit you and the ones that don't. You probably know, say if you drink alcohol at all, you probably know what's the kind of healthy amount for you and for most people, and maybe what isn't. And water, you know, you know, I'm sure, that staying hydrated and drinking enough water really helps our body and our mind to function well. When it comes to exercise, I would say I'm so not the expert. There are so many sorts of exercise I've tried in the years. Certainly I think loads of us have memories of exercise at school that, you know, I'm not particularly happy, funny maybe, but not particularly happy because it just wasn't the sort of exercise that worked for us or that suited us or that helped us feel confident. So I guess as adults we sometimes need to revisit what exercise works for us and what do we enjoy. What could we commit to that actually will carry on doing it because we genuinely get some pleasure from it. For example, I'm not a gym goer. I have been. I think 2008 I went about 10 times. And it reminds me, there's an episode of The Simpsons, this was on years ago, where Homer looks at a building that says gym on it and says, I'm a little bit like Homer, you know, gyms are not my place. However, I live near the coast now and I walk along the seafront. I really look forward to and enjoy. I go to yoga. You know, there are things I've discovered that I like, that my body likes, that I actually do. I don't just start doing and then get bored. I do them because I love them. Okay, so it's, you know, physical exercise is incredibly important for our happiness. It boosts our mood, it reduces stress hormones. We know all that stuff matters, okay? The third thing I want to talk about is breathing. Now it might sound kind of obvious that breathing is essential for feeling happier. I would say it's essential anyway, is it not? However, the reason I mention breathing here, because I'm also going to talk about it in another video actually, is that at the most basic level, we can learn to trust our bodies to do what's right for us by remembering, I think, that we breathe without even thinking about it. Okay, so our bodies are constantly working in our favour to get us through what we need to get through. So paying attention to the fact that we breathe without thinking, most of us that are healthy, can be really useful. It's linked to appreciation and gratitude, that our bodies just know how to work. The majority of the time they absolutely serve us and do the right thing by us. And I guess this is a reminder that when our breathing changes, we can take control back more consciously. Okay, so much of the time it's an unconscious process, but when we need to calm down, when we need to relax, when we need to slow down, if we focus on our breathing and we breathe in for a little longer than usual and out for a little longer than usual, it has an almost immediate impact on how we're feeling about the situation we're in. Okay, so it's a reminder that that very basic physical state also has an influence on our mood and how well able we feel to cope with things. Okay, so they're the three things. What I'd like you to do today is pay attention to three things. Okay, so the first one I would ask you to do is tune into your body. Okay, so this is about noticing that when you're feeling emotion, you feel it in your body as well as your head. Okay, so really, there's a woman called Danielle Laporte, and there's something that she says which I really like. She works a lot with female entrepreneurs and helps people to work out what it is that's important to them and to live lives that are kind of congruent with who they are and what matters. Just to give you a bit of background, one of the things she said once that I found really helpful is she said that in decision making, to get back in contact with sort of gut feeling and the wisdom that we kind of have that's different from our sort of very intellectual wisdom. She talked about when she made a decision, often about work, she said, does that make me feel light or heavy? You know, and that's because we do feel, some more than others I think, but we do feel a physical sensation when we make decisions, or when we think about a certain person or a certain place or a task that lies ahead of us, or maybe something in the past. We get a feeling of lightness, and other times we get a feeling of real heaviness. And I think this exercise is great, so take opportunities today, but when you're doing different things and with different people, think, am I feeling light or heavy? And am I just feeling that here, or is there a place in my body that's also trying to tell me something? Okay. The second thing I'd love you to do is just check the basics. Okay, so as I said, I am not an expert in physical health. Okay, I know far more about mental health, but I do know they're connected. Something I'd ask you to do is just be as honest as possible about the sleep you've had, the food and drink you've had, and the exercise you've had in the last couple of days. And I'm not here to tell you what's good for you because I've got no idea what's good for you. But what I sense and what I believe is that we all kind of know what's good for us in regard to these basic elements of feeling well, physically and mentally. So just be honest with yourself about what you've had to eat and drink, the quality of sleep you had, the amount of sleep you had, and what exercise you've taken. The only reason I mention this is it's not that you necessarily need to make changes, but we tend to just be so busy and preoccupied we don't even notice when we've drifted from good habits that we know work for us well. So it's just about taking 5 minutes and thinking, what does my life actually look like at the moment? What do I do when it comes to these things? And think about whether that's helping you to feel happier or not helping you to feel happier. Okay. The final thing is just breathe. Okay, so really, you know, I'm assuming you're going to be breathing today anyway. It's not a big thing to ask you to do, but all I would suggest that might be interesting is just become more consciously aware of it. Okay, and certainly if you find yourself in a stressful or sad situation, really use your breath more consciously, because by slowing it down and paying attention to it, you can really calm things, and it will help you get through to the next stage, the next thing that you need to do, the next situation you need to manage. So much as our breath usually breathes without asking us, and we go unconsciously, you can start to use it more consciously, and that can really work in your favour. Okay, so have a go at those three things today, and I shall see you on the next video.